Hello and welcome to the Appless Fintech Wave. Friends, we are here for this wonderful conversation with some of the leading CXOs of the financial fintech sectors in this interesting conversation series that we are going to talk about the experience next in a world of Appless. May I request Riddhi to start off with the introduction, please?
Sure. Thank you, Babu. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Very quick introduction about myself. I am Riddhi Chakrabarty. I am the Chief Growth Officer at Cashe. Cashe is a lending fintech and have been in this space over the last 5 years. Now we have branched out into some associated products like credit line and buy now, pay later. Prior to Cashe, I was associated with PaySense, which was another lending fintech. And prior to PaySense, I was with MNCs, Citibank for over 9 years, and then Development Bank of Singapore for around 2 years.
Welcome, Riddhi.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, this is Ashish. I head the technology team in NIYO Solutions. And before NIYO, I was working with Oracle and Metro.
Fantastic. Welcome, Ashish.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining. Myself, Suraj Shetty. I'm heading customer experience and learning and development for Kissht. So Kissht is an fintech player and an NBFC. We provide personal loans, consumer durable loans, BNPL, as well as bill payment services for our customers. And we have been in the market since 2015.
Fantastic. Welcome, Suraj.
Hi everyone, I'm Dipesh. I am I head technology and product at LenDen Club. I'm also co-founder of the same. We started LenDen Club in 2015 August with an idea of bringing the borrowers who are looking for loans to meet or to get loans from investors who are looking to invest in such type of loans. So the idea of peer-to-peer lending started back then, and it's growing since then, and it's one of the hot topic in today's date, right?
Fantastic. Welcome, Dipesh.
Hey, hi, hello everyone. Thanks for making me part of this wonderful panel. And so start with, I am working with Cashfree. It's in B2B payment space, and it's close to 3 years that I have been with Cashfree, and the organization has grown close to 10x since then in aspects of the engineering and the other BUs. I'm working closely with the engineering team as senior director of engineering, and I'm working with the BUs of dispersal, API banking, and verification. So as you know, Cashfree is in B2B payment space, and it started with solving the problems of businesses collecting money from their customers. And later it also disrupted the market with one very fast growing product called disbursals and payouts. And this has made a good it gave a very good positioning of Cashfree in the market. And later on, we also went ahead and worked on the digital footprint increment space, where we are now going into issuing accounts and cards. And we are also working on the space of verification, eKYC. So whatever I mentioned, most of these engineering problems I am working with my wonderful team here in Cashfree. And prior to Cashfree, I worked with Oracle, same as Ashish, and I also worked with Adobe. And I started my career with Computer Associates after I finished my graduation from IIIT. That's about me in short, guys.
Excellent, Harsha. Welcome.
Hey, my name is Sidharth. I am the CRO for KreditBee and CrazyBee, erstwhile CrazyBee. So we started off. I started off my journey with CrazyBee right from 2016, since the time of inception. And digital lending was again probably a dream in 2016, which took its baby steps probably in 2018 with KreditBee as a platform.
Thanks, everybody. I'm Pratekk Agarwaal. I am an advisor helping Gupshup build the fintech vertical. In the past, have been an operator, built companies like Bajaj Finance, Fullerton India, Indostar Capital, last the chief business officer at BharatPe, and now I'm a full-time advisor and startup investor.
So friends, let me give a quick perspective here. One of the important things that we are going to focus on is basically how we are in this wave of experience, how conversations have redefined the way experience is done. How is it that you can imagine a world where you have a lot of communications with your customers, especially in the world of appless banking or appless conversations? How are you going to integrate in case if the apps have to reduce? How will you integrate, engage seamlessly with your entire ecosystem the mobile way?
So yes, so as you rightly said, customers do look for appless experience when it comes to especially lending or a one-time usage. So we have a lot of customers who may look for a small credit limit or an emergency cash, and then after the loan is given to them, they may not have the need to keep the app in on their phones. So especially during the lockdown, as we moved more and more process online, we have also ensured that customers are not left in alert if they do not have the app in their phones. If they don't have to, it's not mandatory for them to have the app on the phone. So what we do is, apart from giving payment options to customers on the app, we enable them to pay also through other channels. Like they can pay through SMS reminders, they can pay through WhatsApp reminders, as well as they can go to any third party platforms which they already have on their phones, like a GPay app, Paytm app, or PhonePe app. And inside that, they can search for the platform. They can just search for Kissht and they can make the payment of the loans. So this is how we ensure that even if the app has been removed from the phone, if the customer is not able to access his app, he can directly, instead of going to the website or something, he can go to his favorite app that he uses daily, like GPay or something, and he can pay it from there without any cost.
Great. Excellent, Suraj. So that is an experience perspective. Now let's look at the engineering perspective. Harsha, you are from the B2B engineering perspective. So from your side, how have you been innovating in the world full of apps to ensure that in an appless world, you give the similar kind of experiences?
So Babu, if you look at Cashfree's model today, interestingly, I guess this would be perfect example here, because the way we engage with our customers, and when I say our customers, there are two perspectives to it. One is our merchants who use our platform, and then their customers, as you mentioned, like the health organizations or say gaming companies or any other sort of customer who is using Cashfree. Ultimately, we are actually solving the problem for them on behalf of our merchants. And if you imagine that if they have to use Cashfree platform, it practically is not possible that all of them would have Cashfree app, which actually isn't the case as well. And today, if you see that if we go in the market and we solve the problem of SMEs who are trying to sell products, if I want to build a solution for them, ideally, I would want to have a system where they sell a product, they generate an invoice, which is sent as a PDF on their WhatsApp, and then it is sent followed by a payment link where they'll just click and they'll make the payment, and they don't need an app for that. And followed by all the state of the transactions where things are changing from, say, transaction initiated, successful, or any other state of transaction which can be due to beneficiary bank's downtime or any other issue. We will continue to send those updates. Similarly, in the space of dispersal, where a organization is trying to refund the payment for a service which is not met, or maybe it's winning money, or maybe there are a lot of clients who want to just refund something for the remaining part of the transaction made. They're using our solution, we call it a cashgram, where again we send a payout link to them where they click it, browser-based app opens, and then they enter the details and the transaction successfully happens. So practically, you see, the business even also doesn't need an app who is using our platform to achieve their goals. And we are not only using WhatsApp, you're using SMS, email, WhatsApp, and also Slack, because Slack has been a very popular platform in a lot of communities. For example, our businesses, even when we communicate with our businesses, we need to tell them the state of things, like say, what are the state of transfers, what is their success, what is TAT. We started introducing Slack because our counter engineering teams in those companies are majorly using Slack as a channel of communication. So we thought this would be good. And we have APIs integrated which are looking at the health and state of our systems and directly sending notifications from Kubernetes to Slack. So we have been doing that.
So you have already taken the headway towards an appless world already, right from the inception of your business. That's a very good thing. So now from the engineering, let me jump on to the risk part of it. So Sidharth, on one side, definitely it is always risky, even if the app is not controlled and app is not secure enough on one side. On the other side, in an appless world also, this amount of security and things have to be taken care of. And on the third side, if you are using a third-party app like a WhatsApp or a SMS or any of the third-party tools, there again is a risk. So, what is a risk manager's perspective in ensuring that the experience stays intact, and at the same time you also have a proper protection of it, or you are insulated against all the possible risks?
Sure. So let's kind of take a step back in terms of why people probably are preferring their own individual apps, right? The starting point really is a better user experience, and B, having more access to, let's say, data or information which may not be available in one hop, right? If you're kind of integrating it with some other. Now, one of the trends that is kicking in is that of super apps. I think we have been talking, I mean, there has been a lot of news around super apps, Tata coming up with their own, Paytm kind of anyways has been one of the pioneers into the super app ecosystem, right? Wherein all the services, including financial services, are pretty much there as one of the options which is there. Which also means that everyone has really started thinking about it from the point of view of, okay, each and every popular app in itself is a data source or a source for a lot of customer acquisition. And that is where I think we are also kind of aligning our thoughts as well. Now to kind of look at it from the point of view of the two issues that we really are looking at, right? User experience, I think one of the good things is all these apps are mature enough to ensure that the user experience is well balanced and so on and so forth. The second one is the access to the data, which is the other challenge which we really generally have from the point of view of underwriting a customer, especially from the credit risk point of view, right? Over there, one of the good things is which is happening is there's a lot of these pieces of information which is frictionless to get from the individual, primarily because of the way in which internet has evolved, and we kind of get to know about individuals a lot more. And along with it, with respect to lending as a product, I think there has been a lot of collaborations as well from the partnership point of view, wherein data sharing collaborations also have come into the picture. So which is why we have right now, along with our app, we have one product which is an SDK lending product, which can be integrated with any other app, and it will start kind of working within the parent app. We also have API lending, wherein if you really do not want to kind of go through the SDK file increase risk, you pretty much kind of hit APIs and you develop the user experience on your side. So yes, definitely, even from a risk point of view, we are in line with the fact that it is going to be an appless or a minimalistic app ecosystem that will kind of develop in the future.
Fantastic. Pratekk, you have seen both the sides. You have seen the side of a lender, you have seen the side of a fintech, and you are also seeing the side of a service provider, which is providing solutions to integrate these apps for a seamless communication. What is your perspective when it comes to this entire ecosystem about appless kind of fintech wave?
Thanks, Babu. So I think having been in the industry for more than a decade now, those days are gone when you expected a customer to download an app. Today, we have about 100 apps on any average Android phone, right? And it is impossible for anybody to download more apps or for single transactional accounts. So something like KYC, right? You just have a KYC journey in one app, which takes about 6 months to build for a tech team, right? However, it is used only once in a lifetime for a customer, right? So can you think about why should a tech team or why should somebody do an investment for one-time usage of this journey right, in an app when you are catering to masses. And we have arrived in a world which is 2021, where it is mass. We are all talking about market shares. We're not talking about some niche products. So I think with these small journeys which have made an app and converted into a huge journey, right, can it be broken into multiple sections where smartly you can reach out to multiple people? So rather than downloading 100 apps and talking individually to everybody, I think the future of it lands in conversational messaging, which is a standard language spoken to by everybody. I mean, statistics say some 6 messaging apps account for almost 6 billion active monthly users, right? So can you move all of those into conversations? Can we book a cab on conversations, right? Can we book a cab? Can we do a KYC over, selection? Can you get your loan statement? Can you get your payment statement? Can you get your transaction, single validity transaction payment? All of these are moving into single transactional journeys, right? And which is not possible now for apps to accommodate. You can't expect a customer to go to download an app or go to a website and log in for that journey, right? So I think the future lies in conversations, future lies in transactional, future lies in making it seamless, simple, through one app. And that's how, if you see, WhatsApp, just for an example, right, it started with conversations. Now it offers payments, it offers everything, and it is secured, right? So I think we are all moving towards the conversation era.
Fantastic. I think conversation is the way to begin now, right? I mean, let us just move ahead from this conversation point right now. And you have already paved way that today is a world of conversational experience. And thanks to all the Alexas of the world, all the Siris of the world, and the WhatsApps of the world, conversations is here for a more longer stint now. Another thing is, when there is conversation happening, it used to be one-on-one personalized kind of conversations. And even today, generation like ours, at least the generation that I am in, loves newspaper to read. The next generation definitely not likes to read newspaper. They prefer to read newspaper on the phone. The same way, one-on-one communication is here, at least for some more time to stay. And more and more interesting organizations are enriching their conversations with intelligence and automation, so that even in a robotic world, they don't feel that you are being too robotic, and it is more of a machine interaction. So how are organizations today enriching these conversations to take their business growth, so that on one side there is scalability due to automation, and the second, there is also experience there, and that warmth, that emotional connect is also there with the customer. I think I would like to talk to a founder here. Dipesh, since you have been a founder, how have you envisaged it?
Thanks, Babu. So, see, one-on-one conversation with a human itself is a complex affair, right? Wherein you never know how a conversation starting from maybe talking about, the space science could lead to conversation about what food you had yesterday, right? There's no standard way to calibrate the level of conversation that you have. With IoT devices, evolving in today's date, the conversational aspect of it has started evolving in order to ensure the mood and sentiments of an individual. Just as I like interacting with my Alexa device often, because it tends to judge my mood. And usually, if you since I often like playing with the technology itself, although I come from the technology background, right? So setting up the right temperature in my room whenever I enter in the summertime or winter time is something that it does, and just greets me in the right way, right? So that's something that I really appreciate when it comes to the type of effort that technology has put in accordingly, right? Likewise, I'll tell you something that I observed. Today, forget about the number of apps that are installed in your phone, right? You'll not be able to scroll through your contacts in order to talk to the person that you want to talk whenever you have your 10 minutes window. But with Siri or any type of smart devices, conversational bots in place, you could simply direct them to help you connect with the relevant person, and it will tell you whether it can connect you to that person or not, whether the person is accessible or whatsoever, right? It can also send you a reminder, hey, you used to call your mom every Saturday. Would you like to call her again? Right? So that's something that conversational bots have been doing, and that's something that part of intelligence is what I can call it, not completely machine level intelligence, right? Or AI is what we call it, right? It's something that it is trying to gain towards, but then I think it's definitely going to take some more time in order to evolve in that direction.
Excellent. Thanks a lot. Before I go to the tech view from Ashish, I would like to go to Riddhi, who has been a growth officer. And Riddhi, from your perspective, how do you see this phygital movement, okay, of combining digital and physical, putting in a growth accelerator to your business, especially of that of the fintechs, whereby on one side you give the growth, and on the other side you are also providing this the comfort and the personalization. How have you been experiencing this from a growth acceleration perspective?
So to give you a perspective, right, what we have seen over the last few years is obviously customers. We have to always think from a customer point of view, right? The customer is more comfortable where is he spending most amount of time, and as businesses, we need to be present there and sort of work with them there so that they feel comfortable with the business, interacting with the business, and going ahead and doing their tasks on that particular medium. So what we have actually seen is the conversational bots, and obviously we will see more of that over a period of time. They not just help the customer experience, but also in terms of efficiencies, right? They're a lot more efficient. So to give you a perspective, versus somebody having to change mediums, download the app, and then move forward. Here you're sticking on the same medium, so there is no chance of the customer getting say disillusioned by looking at other apps on the Google Play Store, looking at some reviews that might not be very positive. So to give you a perspective, today around 40% of customers sort of don't move different mediums if they come from a web to an app, or sort of say they drop off, right? So that entire journey and experience can be redefined with the conversational bot. The second part, of course, is that even with more and more chatbots coming into prominence over a period of time, you can service the customer till the very end, and even post disbursal from a loan point of view. And in the future, we would have account aggregators, we would have open rails that would make lending so easy as more as a service. It will just get standardized, and the customers, for them, it might be as easy as say a UPI payment right now. So at that point of time, the customer would not even look at downloading heavy apps or looking at a way of onboarding which is probably not as efficient.
Wonderful. Now let me just take from the technology perspective with Ashish, who has anyways been from the technology side. So how easy or difficult it is to integrate both physical and digital together into this experience base when you use these external apps?
Sure. Thanks. So I will just answer, on top of what others said in terms of chatbot, I will just take 1 minute, and share my view also on chatbot. So on chatbot, while it is a perfect example, and many organizations are building on top of that in terms of using intelligence and automation. One thing which is going to be very critical is that these chatbots are able to recognize not only the responses, but also, not only syntaxes, but also understand the implications and use, NLP or machine learning. And why I'm saying that is that, for example, the bot should be able to understand the sentiments. For example, when you say yep versus sure or versus why not, so you should be able to understand that it is all equivalent of yes. So these kind of intelligence is what many organizations are leveraging now to build for chatbot. In terms of like what we have realized, and I will give an example of one of the apps which we have, which is NIYO Bharat app. Actually, it is NIYO Blue or NIYO Bharat. It is a prepaid salary card app for blue collar employees. Now, as you understand, with blue collar employees, they are not very proficient in English. So what we have done specifically for this customer segment, that this app is very much a voice based app, where you can press a button and it will show and tell you that what exactly this label talks about, because they may not be able to read English or Hindi also. So they press the label and then it says that this is talking about 7,000 rupees, or it will say 7,000 rupees aap jama karein. So is tarah ka, this is the way the entire app works, and we have taken support of voice, and it is in 6 languages. So this is our experience, that this is also one use case where we need to have vernacular ability in the apps, and the ability to have conversation within the app while the text is definitely there. This is one area where we have explored conversation.
Interesting. About 3 years back, we ran a survey amongst the top financial services industry digital experts. Okay. And digital transformation directions 2020 is what we ran that time, because it was not 2020 then. One of the most important thing that was highlighted by people is multilingual. And second difficulty that also people faced were in the area of the different dialects and the pronunciations and the what you call as the different dialects in which people speak these languages. It is not easy for every chatbot to understand that. So technically there is going to be a difficulty as such. Have you seen any of such kind of difficulty, Ashish, when you use multilingual and multi geographies?
Yeah, we faced some challenges when we were integrating this NIYO Bharat app with different languages, and eventually we have improved over a period of time. The challenges which we faced was that since this is used by blue collar employees, so they understand their own local languages much better. And it is used in South India and North India as well. It was very easy to get the converter which can convert speech to text or text to speech for Hindi, but it was very difficult to get it for other southern languages. So we had to work with Google to get some specific keywords done. And specifically, finance is one area which is not very much explored in this part, right? So, for example, when you say investment, it is nivesh. Now, that may not be there in Google because, that is not very regularly used. So those kind of challenges, yes, we faced, and then we had to work with, our vendors to help us get that.
Pratekk, you have been working on technology related to all these conversational chatbots and things like that. How has the experience been when you interact with the customers as well as with the fintechs? How has it been on both the sides?
I think from when I interact with fintechs, it's primarily mostly on the cost side, right? The cost of acquisition is very high. The cost of servicing is very high, right? And when the conversation starts that what if I reduce, or what if we offer you certain things and work together in reducing your cost of acquisition to less than 5%, right, of what you're paying right now, right? What if, and I actually appreciate what Ashish got on the panel, right? Ashish talked about voice bots for Bharat, right? And these voice bots are something which I think you're trying to do it for the first time, and these are new use cases, right? However, if we see and just try to convert our existing use cases which contribute to more than 60-65% of our business, be it on the demand side, be it on the underwriting side, be it on the servicing side, right? Bots can really change the P&L. Bots can really take care of the scalability. And what is seen is that if you are able to substantiate it with some numbers, right, and say that your current cost of acquisition is like 500 rupees, right? Can I get it at 50 rupees, right, your eyebrows really blow up, right? So I think that's where the bots are playing a very important role, and fintechs are getting excited about moving all of this into the tech now, right? So you pick up top five use cases, see which are contributing to the top three, right, or top to 60% or 50%, right? Move them, automate it, move it to a bot, and you're done. So I think cost is one of the major areas of concern, and cost is one of the major areas of interest. When we talk about conversational bots or API powered bots.
Fantastic. So one of the most important thing when you come in any conversation, especially when it is a customer service related conversation or things like that, is the emotion. Okay. And ultimately, when the person is angry because his service is not provided on time, or he has been put in an additional interest or fine, which he feels is unfair, vis-a-vis he is happy, etc., etc. What kind of intelligence do the bots have today to analyze these kind of levels of emotions on one side? Okay. And on the other side, these emotions, if they are used well within the bot and programmed well, that can lead to a great acceleration in growth and experience. On the other side, if you really do a bad job with it, it can turn to be a disaster as well. So how do organizations work around that? Does anybody want to share any experience in and around this area?
Yes, Babu, I would like to add to it. So presently, what we do is we have a CRM system wherein all the ticketing happens. So irrespective of the customer is able to coming from call, chat, or email, everything gets ticketed on a one single platform. So here we try to what we do here is we try to segregate customers into irate and normal customers, and based on that, the priority is set for servicing these customers, and this happens based on what kind of words the customer has used in the email or in the chat. So it is a continuous learning process wherein you need to identify the keywords that they're using. For example, during the lockdown, hospital is a keyword, hospital or COVID, etc. So these kind of keywords, as soon as these keywords come into an email or chat, it's necessary that the system recognizes it and tags it properly so that immediate help can be given to the customer, because we cannot make these customers wait. Also, say legal or police or say accident or something like that. So these are the or RBI government. So these are customers who are aggrieved in some sense, or they are facing some kind of difficulties. So what we did is we identify these set of keywords, and even right now as I'm speaking, we daily identify these keywords and we feed it to the system, to the chat as well as to the email, so that whenever these keywords appear in any channel through any customer interaction, immediately it is tagged so that it can be taken on priority and resolved.
Fantastic. That's a very practical view of doing it, and I think it definitely should work for many of the organization. From the technology perspective, Harsha, since you are doing B2B engineering of this, can you share some perspective how the engineering side is looking at managing the emotions with technology?
So, Babu, the way we see it, that it is definitely a phase shift the way we deal with the conversation. And we had brainstormed on this problem multiple times, that how do we increase the efficiency of our responses? How do we improve our SLAs of the responses? And we always had this debate that how much we automate and how much we involve the human factor in this conversation. And we knew that eliminating human factor is not a immediate possibility unless the human factor, which is actually mimicked by AI itself, becomes very strong. But one thing we realized that we have to make our picks in the terms of the fact we have to analyze the whole foray of the conversation that is happening between the between the customer and us. Why exactly he is trying to reach out to us, and where we could have reached out to them before they could have reached out to us. Because as the moment you enter the conversation, you actually enter the problem. But first is to narrow down the problem space, and you tackle the right problem, then trying to solve the technology than the actual problem. So first technology we should use to segregate the problem space. You identify that what is the nature. So conversations are actually triggering, because have you made your documentation good enough that they have understood that what they should be doing? Still people want to reach out to a conversation because they don't look for a document always, right? So then can you add context to the question, in the sense like they are talking about a transaction? So can you associate your bot with that as soon as they click on something, you identify what is the context by the system itself, and you know what are immediate helps. So you know if he must be looking for why I have not received my money yet, right? So you know that this is exactly the question, and you would just figure out that data from the system and give it back. And then you go to the stage where you actually engage a human. There also we have built certain trees like dialog flow kind of stuff, where we will find out what are questions he might ask, what will be the answers, and involve some NLP to that, where you find the closest statement that he's making. But the problem becomes context, because every customer is not asking you a question in a regulated or dictionary language. They will be using Hindi written in English script with some sentiments added to that, which where they are disappointed. So then it becomes more interesting problem for us, but that is a very narrow space. And that's where you can start engaging the AI models on that. Like you look at that data, you feed it to the AI system and your bot becomes smarter. But one of the important thing is, while I'm talking to these customers, they are not exactly directly our customers. They are merchants customers. So stake is pretty high. We are actually in this space to reduce the operational cost of the company who is banking upon us. So the impact space of whatever technology we use is not just limited to one company. It's the entire set of merchants who are banking upon us. That is why it has to be a very sensitive choice. So we'll not risk out the customer experience, and we will engage human as much as possible. But while we continue to train our AI-driven models to respond better, and we'll analyze that, which is what we do similar to what Suraj just shared. Like we look at the keywords, we tag it immediately, and we respond accordingly. So we do that.
Interesting. That was a lot of learning for me also. Prateek, anything you want to add over and above what these speakers have added?
I think when I look at and I think this is exactly what is happening, and when Suraj spoke about payment and collection use cases, right, using bots. Cashfree, Harsha again talked about transactional updates and refunds and collection, and touched upon, where are those manual things which cannot be ruled out in the engagement ecosystem, right? And Sid from KreditBee talked about why app is important, because he's a CRO and all the alternative data is gold mine, right? Which cannot happen. And obviously, Ashish's voice bots and things. I think what we are looking at very interesting use cases when we're working with NBFCs, insurance companies, fintech startups. The conversation messaging or the conversational fintech, right, is much beyond these 2-3 use cases, right? And if I see what are the use cases which people are coming up with, are almost like verified lead generation, right? Why should you go to a website and pay multiple other click lead per click, etc., right? So you have a verified lead generation which can be just tap 3 taps on a conversation, and you exactly know who wants what he wants, how he wants it. All right. You have KYC, which can be validated, verified, right? You have collection repayments. You can literally settle an account. We did with, I Can Pay. We've launched a service with I Can Pay where you can settle your account on WhatsApp conversation. Right, you can pay your outstanding bill. You can divide it into 3 parts. You can divide it into 6 parts. You can make one single transaction, or you can, get your documents of insurance or loan, right? Approvals. We are doing a complete approval over WhatsApp, right, for a 2-wheeler NBFC. So I think conversational fintech is moving in the right direction, and the esteemed panels are using certain bits of everything, right? But I feel that there are much more use cases which can be actually explored, and I think we're just moving in the right direction, because everybody agrees to that you can only have so many apps, right? And we can only, and I think I was talking to Riddhi the other day offline, right? And he mentioned something very important, which I'm sure, a lot of us don't think, that when we pay on the app store, or when we guide the customer to go to an app store, we are actually sending him to a marketplace where, when he goes to search me, he actually finds my competition, and he downloads a competition app based on the rating, which would be either a high or a low, and sitting in our offices, we don't even realize that while we have paid for that download, somebody else has got the download.
Excellent. I think that is a very interesting perspective, Prateek, and very way forward for organization to look at, especially in this entire scheme of things. Now, if I just move one step ahead of all this, and I come to the since you mentioned Riddhi, before I go to the compliance perspective and risk perspective to Sandeep. Riddhi, from your perspective, how do you see if these kind of services are available as a growth officer, chief growth officer of an organization, when you are able to capture the sentiments through this particular bot-based things? Do you see a lot of acceleration that happens to the business? How does it work for in your experience?
Yeah, sure. So I think what definitely happens, and what we have seen, is that one, the customer experience obviously improves significantly. We end up the funnel conversion goes up significantly, because all these drop-offs don't happen because the customer is in the same medium. And of course, the other thing that is important is, today it's still limited, right? Say, for example, the use case is not as wide as it would be in the next 2, 3, 4 years time. And quite often the questions that or the questions or the form that is present is only catering to one particular aspect. But if you look at a customer's point of view, he might have 10 more questions, which is probably not covered as of now, or the answer is not present as of now, right? So that, unfortunately, is slightly a place where the customer probably finds not enough information, and probably ends up going back to the app or the web. But over a period of time, what I do feel is that the next level is something which is free-flowing conversation, where obviously every day we are getting more and more inputs, and natural language processing is getting better. So the free-flowing intelligent conversations are what the organizations will work towards, where any question that the customer might have with regards to the product gets answered then and there itself, rather than the customer having to hunt in a web or an app. And therefore, end-to-end onboarding, even usage, and all aspects of fintech would be taken care of in a much more seamless manner.
Interesting. I think, Riddhi, interesting perspective. It definitely comes to the shot that we are already there, or we are almost there. And of course, there is definitely a lot of tweaking, burnishing, and polishing required, but it is already happening to a great extent. Thanks for those insights. Now, let me go to the risk specialist today. Sandeep, from your perspective, on one side, we are talking about the emotions capturing and having this conversation around, tailoring things as per the emotions of the customers. This is one side that we are talking about. The other is when we use these kind of chatbots and any other third-party apps through which we are communicating and conversations, etc. There is this data sharing, there is data privacy that we have to take care of. Again, you are sending the links into some chatbot apps or WhatsApp. What is the overall risk perspective you would like to take a look at when you are, as a risk officer, looking at this entire activity?
Right. Very interesting question. I think one of the typical anxieties that happens with any and every company is the data sharing component. And with your Privacy Act and everything else coming into the picture, I think it is going to be a compliance flavor also associated with it very soon, right? Now, two aspects, right? What does it have? What impact does it have from a business point of view? Because any and every data which is shared is in some way having some kind of a cost associated with it, right? So that's where you have to kind of take a call. So, for example, I mean, in our use case, what we really do is for any customer post a specific DPD, which is like 30 DPD, 60 DPD, whatever it is. We have integrated with Gupshup and so on and so forth. I mean, Gupshup being one of the partners, right? So we kind of use these channels to really do the collections and so on and so forth. So that is one of the cost to the data that we want to share with the third party that we are willing to let go of, right? Similarly, what I mean, and again, the aspect really over here is each and every third party has to really be curated from the point of view of what does it really have from a compliance point of view. It being all the servers residing in India and so on and so forth, which are most of the typical compliance related items which are associated with them. Along with it, certifications, etc., also kind of starts becoming a prerequisite for any and every such conversational partner associated, right? So those kind of start becoming the key decisioning points whenever we are kind of evaluating it. Again, if you're kind of thinking about it from the lead gen point of view as well, a lot of these data channels kind of work out very well. It really does not have too much of a compliance angle because it is a push kind of a system, which is why technically there's no cost. I mean, there is a tangible cost, customer acquisition cost, which is associated with it, but it's at the benefit. It's a beneficial thing really at the end of the day, right? So I mean, some amount of thoughts really have to be put into the perspective with respect to the data sharing. Very tangible costs associated have to be measured too.
Interesting. In fact, when it comes to compliance and things, once upon a time, banks were trying to push in digital signatures to the customers because that was supposed to be one of the most secure kind of transaction for authorizing the transactions.
Yeah.
And everyone was gung ho and talking about it, and everyone would say that, boss, this is the thing that we should do. But no banker would actually go in for it and issue it. The issue is the cost. And when the cost of providing that security outweighs the benefits of providing that security, automatically they go into the cost perspective about it. So I think the cost is something that has to be definitely taken down in depth. Prateek, do you think that there is anything to be looked into? How do you make sure that the cost of this kind of solutions is not outweighing its benefits?
I think cost of legal, cost of compliance is only going to increase as we are entering a place. The ecosystem is not what it was 6 years back, right? It is absolutely changing right now, and we all know how important it is in terms of data privacy, data sharing, having right agreements in place, etc., right? So and there is also one more reality which we all agree to, is that end of the day it's the customer who pays for everything, right? So again, going back to the previous things or my previous experiences, is that think about how can you save cost, right? So that without being non-compliant, right, you can invest all of these savings into your most compliant systems, going with the companies who have credibility in the ecosystem, especially when you are working in the BFSI ecosystem, right? Do not take shortcuts with couple of pesas. I remember about a decade back, I used to negotiate for 7 paisa per SMS to 5 paisa per SMS, but never knew that the 5 paisa per SMS, wherever I used to go, right, my data was just available for sale. These were those days about a decade back. So I think we need to be mindful, and as I said, right, that everything needs to be structured in a way where you can reduce your cost. And to me, since this is a conversational messaging webinar, right, I would say automating all of these standard things, where you do not need a human brain to action, can all of those move to a bot? Can those be used with NLPs? Can APIs, which all the technologists are using probably in their apps and in their websites, right? We are seeing these APIs being used in conversational bots and converting these huge traffics, which saves immense amount of money. And this money can be put to good use, right? To manage your compliance cost and to be right side of the regulator.
Interesting. So that comes to my next question. I have just two questions left, and both of these has to be very quick. So Dipesh, I would like to put this question to you. Since we are talking about a world which is going to be a lot appless, is there a space for a single layer of app which can, integrate well with as many APIs as possible and give the whole new world of experience? Do you think that is the world that everyone is looking at, or would you like a world where everyone has an app or a equivalent of app without actually being as cumbersome as using an app? So what is the choice that as a growth officer you would prefer?
Right. So, see, it's just like, if you have one child, you become a parent, right? But if you have two children, then you become a referee, right? It's difficult to decide.
That's a good one.
So if you have multiple level of applications and multiple level of options in order to juggle between, right, you'll never be able to make the wise decision. So of course, one single interface, one AI, one conversational AI, one interface, one platform for entire conversation would definitely make it much more convenient for the end user. If I have to look from end user's perspective, if I'm there to do some transaction in certain directions, as if I have to take a financial transaction, then I would like to have one assistant that will be taking care of entire experience, either at my end or at the back end and on whoever is providing the service to me, right? So it doesn't matter if I look it from the service provider or from the consumer side. I'm sure the less the number of interactions in between, the better it is for both the parties.
Interesting. And Ashish, as a technologist, how do you see it as a possibility where all these integrations can be made seamless? I know definitely for a matter that few years back, banks like, for example, Kotak Bank launched 811, which could probably integrate to every app in the world and order an Ola, book an OYO room, or whatever it is. So technically, how feasible is it even today, and how seamless and effortless it can be?
Technically, it is very much feasible. For example, if you take a case of banking application itself, earlier what used to happen is that there were different APIs. Some API which is going to give you only customer data from bank, and then something which is coming from the core banking system, which is the CBS system. Then there will be something which is coming from the debit card management system. So and every application has to integrate with these multiple APIs to show data to the customer. Now let's assume that there is a web application which is doing the same thing, mobile application doing the same thing, and there is a desktop application. Then you can understand that the same thing has to be repeated by these three different devices. And that is where the concept of BFF, which is generally called as backend for frontend, comes into the picture in technology. So what it does is that it combines the data from multiple APIs, and that is very, very specific that BFF layer will give the data to the UI. So actually it coordinates with all the subsequent calls within the solution, and then the architecture is such that any front-end request is then answered by this BFF. So, and it is very much feasible. Many good companies have already evolved, like Amazon, Netflix, even we work with BFF architecture, where the same API, there is only one API which is interacting with the UI. And this also you can say it is serving as an aggregator or coordinator of all the requests which are going from the UI. So yeah, it is very much feasible and is getting used in most of the modern applications nowadays.
Great. So now, it is the last question, but I want everyone to participate in it, and it is a very brief two-liner that I want. The first liner that I wanted from all of you is to understand what is exactly going to come, or what is the next level of possibility in communication which is already in the pipeline? And B, what is in your wish list? Riddhi, can we start with you?
Sure. So, in fact, I was just reading today that Google gets 15% of searches in Google are new every day. So, in fact, Google also needs to work on providing relevant answers to those. Otherwise, if the answers lack relevance, then people would not be satisfied with Google, right? And it's something similar for us as well. When we look at migrating to a chatbot, we have to be sure that the customer at the end is getting an experience which is better, right? And it might take time. It might, you should not just go ahead immediately just because somebody else is doing it. You should take your time. You should build up relevant matrices, track them, and therefore go ahead. So I think the essence is the customer's experience to be as good or even better, and therefore not to rush into it.
Wonderful. Quick take on this, Ashish, from your side. Thanks, Riddhi.
Yeah, see, I believe that the next level would be maybe convergence of the conversation AI and intelligent. And I am hoping that with this smart kind of automation, it would create an omni-channel experience, which will then facilitate much more, hyper-personalized customer experience. On our wish list, we would like to now move ahead with Alexa. So we have done Apple Watch app is already there, and other apps are there on the mobile. Now we want to move towards Alexa integration, where you can ask, where is my nearest ATM, where you can ask what is my balance, where you can ask what was my last transaction. That is on our wish list in this quarter probably.
Wonderful. That was a quick one, and that is what I actually expected as well. Thanks a lot, Ashish. Sidharth, from your side, what is the risk manager's wish list, and what do you see coming?
So, just from the risk side, more access to data. I mean, that is the only mantra that anyways we work on. But just from a practical point of view, from a experience point of view, at the end of the day, let's say predictable or predictive conversations. Typically, it is more of a push from the customer side. Is there any way by which there can be some preemptive conversations that can get into the picture? Because a happy customer is always a well-paying customer.
Interesting. That was a very interesting perspective also, Sidharth. Let's move on to the founder, Dipesh. From a founder's perspective, what do you see coming, and what is in your wish list?
See, in the world of this cognitive computing, right, with so many IoT devices evolving, right, of course, if I really had to wish, I would love to have something that could read my thoughts, right, and take actions accordingly. However, just speaking on the practicality side, I think a decent, since chat-based conversation is something that can evolve with at a much faster pace, since the standard mode of conversation could be English or some standard set of countable vernacular languages. So I think a better predictive analysis on that side in order to respond to right set of emotions is what would help.
Fantastic. The emotional game anyways stays on, and it only has to get stronger according to you.
Right.
Great. Excellent. Harsha, what about you? What do you like to wish for, and what do you see coming soon?
Very interesting question, Babu. And I had been retrospecting when everybody was speaking this, and I was thinking that the philosophies of science actually express themselves at different phases in the form of technology. And if you see the evolution, the way we reached at serverless computing and cloud, the earlier era was that we used to install softwares in premise. If you need something, you'll install it. If I map it today in the world, if mobile is the go-to device, every icon of an app is a shop installed within your mobile, and you are just entering the shop, doing the thing, and you are coming out. Right. And this is a very secure environment where you can say that you can cross-sell, or you can have a conversation, you can talk about things. But the next level of the technology problem would be to start using the rails of technology interchangeably, in the sense like your WhatsApp communication, Instagram communication, Facebook communication. Can you start using all these rails for different kind of intents, where you actually achieve the same goal which you intended by giving the app to the customer, and which will be a very challenging problem to solve, because you would want to achieve the ease of the doing the business, while you would have to find challenging ways to inspire the customer, do the cross selling, which is not that easy going forward. And we would come up with very, sophisticated protocols of communication, libraries, where all these technologies will work as an intertwined channel with each other to talk to the same customer. Maybe through Swiggy app, you will be booking Uber, and you will be also, checking the status of weather, and you will be having a communication. Or probably there is no such thing. It's a global operating system, one single thing, your mobile, and everything is just a service exposed through that, and they are talking to each other. That's what I'm foreseeing. And AI will be sort of a basic norm at that point of time.
Excellent. I think thanks for that perspective, Harsha. And as an experience officer's perspective, what do you say, Suraj?
Babu, my wish list would be that a lot of learnings every organization has within it, and these learnings are scattered across departments and across individuals, across business levels. So what I see coming is if a platform which can help pass on these learnings to the bots that are already there with the business, like chatbot, email bot, voice bots, etc. So if each of the customer service channels, if the front end of each of the customer service channels, be it social media, even social media is there, social media, chat, email, voice, all of them have a bot in front. And if the bot is not able to, and the bot has to be supplied by updated learning every time, like I said, some keywords, etc., so that they know how to respond to each and every situation. If as soon as there is an alert that the bot is not able to resolve it, it has to move to a human, and the human has to be like a 10-minute callback for the customer. And this is something that I saw with Amazon. So Amazon has been one of my primary case studies for improving customer service, where I see that they depend on human capabilities, but it's more like when a customer is not able to get his issues resolved, they have an option to get a call back in 10 minutes, and it actually is 10 minutes callback. So instead of having people take calls through a call center, as well as people doing chats, people doing emails, it's better to have chatbots on every platform. And as soon as the system gives an alert that the bots are not able to resolve, it has to move to an immediate callback so that a human assists them immediately before they lose their temper.
Prateek, I wanted to ask you the last, because I know you will have answer for many of the things in the wish list. So let us have this final round from you before we close this conversation.
Thanks. I was smiling at when Suraj was mentioning, right, that is exactly what is happening. That's exactly what fintechs and large corporations are asking, and they're moving to this, right? Somebody just came last week, and I was smiling where, after giving all these options, right, talk to the agent was one of the options which somebody wanted to just embed, right? Because that is like, the best experience anybody would want, right? When you call up an IVR, you do everything, but you are just waiting to hear that press 9, to talk to an agent. And we are so used to it, we are so conditioned. So nothing will move differently, right? We will have to integrate our basic things into the chatbot also to make it more intelligent. Second is, I think my wish list is messaging apps are robots. They do not have any time limit, no 9 to 5, no 9 to 6. It can be accessed anytime, anywhere, personalized. And somewhere these messaging apps, even the poll said, right, has got all of us into a same playground, right? There is no difference between anybody else, nothing which is with senior citizens use it, but a millennial does not, right? Everybody is on the same playground, right? And my wish list would be, can we have these one or two use cases which we heard from everybody, right, which they are using, these use cases to increase to everybody, right from, I mean, we integrating something with Experian now, right? You can do it, you do a bureau pull over WhatsApp or conversation with CRIF, right? You can have a soft approval, you can approve it via scorecard, you can have one click bill payment. So all those use cases need to move to bots, which will not only save time and money, for fintechs and corporations, right? But it will move lot of redundant activities which we have been doing. So I think that's on my wish list for now. Thanks, Babu, for asking.
Thank you very much, everyone, for a wonderful conversation.
Thank you, Babu,
Thank you. Thank you.
for the great moderation, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
For attending as well.